What I'm tying here is a PMD Sparkle Dun. What I've done already is I started the thread on the hook, and I wanted to cover a couple things, show you kind of what I do in these patterns. This is a size 20, so it's really kind of small for PMD. Normally they're 16s or 18s, but in this case I'm going to go a little bit smaller. What you really need to do is find some good hair. That's kind of key to this. And what I'm using here is some Dun deer hair. This is Nature's Spirit, and this is the best stuff out there. And there's different patches you can get. I probably got 15 patches and just kind of work with each one and figure out which one works best. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab just a small piece of that, and I'm going to show you a little trick here too. Spice this up a little bit. But what I'm doing is I'm going to grab a wood duck feather, and you don't have to do this, I'm just going to show you. I'm going to grab several fibers of it and cut it off. I'm going to throw that in my hair stacker. Then I'm going to grab that hair, clip it off, and I'm going to get I'm going to use a smaller batch, so probably just this much right here. Okay, small amount, throw that in your stacker. And I already threw the wood duck in there already. And I'll show you why. Alright, so I have that stacked. You can sort of see that there's that wood duck showing up. You'll see it more here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure. Before I do that, I'm going to put a layer of thread right down on that hook shank, and I'm going to put it about right there, probably an eye and a half away from the actual eye. And then I'm going to measure, and I'm going to use my my fingernails as kind of that point where I want to place that thread. Once you lay it down, a couple wraps, and then see how it flares. That's what you want. If you tie a bigger pattern, it's going to flare more because you're going to have a longer length wing, and that wing is going to, as you get back into the fibers of the deer hair, it's going to be a little more hollow. And in this case, it flared just enough for me. So I'm going to cover up all those butts, and then I'm going to tie this as a Sparkle Dun. So I'm using a little bit of Antron, or Zelon in this case, and I'm just going to use thread as the body. You can do biots, but when you get small like this, it really makes it a little easier to do thread. So wrap that, make sure you got a good body, make sure you got that color coming through. Clip that tail. Alright, now I'll prop this wing up a little bit and take a couple bites as I move forward. That'll help lock it down, and it'll flare some of that wing as well. So you can sort of see I have that mixture of the wood duck. Again, you don't have to do that. Looks kind of cool. Then I'm just going to grab some of this superfine PMD color dubbing, dub that on. It's a really simple fly once you figure it out. I struggled with the smaller sizes at first, and finding the right hair is key. So I'm just going to lay a few wraps right in front. I'm going to push everything forward again. I'm going to come with my thread and dubbing back behind and put a couple wraps right in there, and then I'm going to add just a little bit more dubbing just to finish up. Not a whole lot. Very, very sparse. Put a few more wraps just behind here. Try not to trap too many fibers of the hair. And push that forward. I'm going to put a couple wraps right at the base and then I'm going to come and sneak in the front side and put a couple right at the base also. Right in there. That'll help prop it up, and then finish right at the head. Tie that off with a few wraps, snug it up, and then just cut your thread. So you can see the wood duck mixed in there, and again, it's just a kind of cool little trick. You don't have to do that. Gives it a little bit more flavor, I guess you could say. But that's right there, that's the Sparkle Dun. You notice the coloration, the tail acting as a shuck, and then the 180 degree wing right there. Okay. Again, the key is the hair. If you don't have the correct hair, you're going to struggle. If you look at this patch here, you can sort of see that it's really fine. The tips of this are really fine, and what the if you look at your patch of hair and the black tips are too long, it's not going to work well. You can sort of see on this one, and let me see if I can show you a little bit better, but the tips of this hair, very fine. Alright, that's what you need. So once you find the hair, you can mess around with your bigger sizes, 16s and 18s, and get an idea for what you're doing, and eventually it'll all come together, and these ones work really well, float really well. You know, they work great. So give them a try. You can tie them in blue wing olives also. A little bit smaller, you know, you're looking at 18s, 20s, 22s. 22s are hard. Go over to a CDC Compare Dun or a Sparkle Dun. I'll show you those next time.